All right, welcome back everybody to another video. We're going to do some Breslov history today. I know it's going to be Purim soon. I've been doing a lot of Purim on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. But today we're going to do a full video, some good Breslov history on the history of the Kloyz. So if you're listening, first of all, I'm going to put this also up on Spotify and whatever, the podcast and all that stuff. If you're watching, hello. So when I say the word Kloyz in Breslov, so I'm not talking about the actual physical building that you see today in Uman that we call the Kloyz that everybody davens in. Not that everybody davens in there, but it's like the main minyan in Uman for the mainstream Breslov Kehilas, whatever. And a lot of people daven there. It fits like 8,000-9,000 people, and downstairs is the big mikvah and all that. And also there's the Sephardi Kloyz. And the reason why they call it the Kloyz is obviously because of the original Kloyz, which we're going to learn about today. The history of the Kloyz that Rav Nosson built after Rabbi Nachman passed away. So Kloyz is a shul. It's a Yiddish word for a shul. I think, shul is also Yiddish, but I think it's just another Yiddish word for like a small house or like a small thing, something like that. But anyway, we're going to learn the history. We're going to be learning from the Sefer Siach Sarfi Kodesh, as usual. And we're going to be learning the section called HaKloyz, which is in Chelik Beis, which is in this section about Rav Nosson. And this is called the Bayis Rishon, the first version of the Kloyz. There was three different versions of the Kloyz that Rav Nosson built. So we're going to learn how it came about and how everything started. Okay, so it says at the end of the year Tav Kuf Peites, which is in English date about 1820. Okay, which is hold on a second. Tav Kuf Peites. No, Tav Kuf Peites is 1829, which is about 19 years after Rabbi Nachman died, right? Yeah, whatever. It's a long time after Rabbi Nachman died. Okay, so they came to Rosh Hashanah for Tav Kuf Tzadik for that year, and there was nowhere to pray. They didn't have anywhere to daven. So now Rav Nosson explains how did it all start. So he said at the beginning, the first Rosh Hashanah after Rabbi Nachman died, so we davened in this Kloyz. There was a different shul in Uman called the Kloyz. It wasn't a Breslov Kloyz. It was just a different Kloyz that they built, right? Because the people who lived there, also in Uman, they wanted the Breslovers to pray there with them, right? So that's where they prayed on Rosh Hashanah the first year after Rabbi Nachman died, right? And they had a lot of kavod, and everyone was very happy that the Breslovers joined, and it was very, very cool, right? And for a few years after Rabbi Nachman passed away, this is where all the Breslovers, where Rav Nosson and everybody who came for Uman Rosh Hashanah prayed in this Kloyz, what we called that little Kloyz, okay? But then, many years after that, obviously more and more people started coming for Rosh Hashanah, and there was no room in this little Kloyz. Right? It says, besides for the people who already davened there all year, we already needed our own shul. Okay, so he says that Hashem had mercy on us, and Pitom, some rich guy, came who was from Uman. His name was Rabbi Mordechai, and he said that you could have my house. He had a very, very big house. He said, you come into my house and you pray there for Rosh Hashanah. And we had this big room, and everything worked out. And he put chairs and tables and benches, and he put candles and water and everything. This guy Rav Mordechai did for us. It was amazing. And that's where we davened also for a few years. Afterwards, this guy passed away, and we davened in this house of Rav Mordechai for another year or two after he passed away. But then it happened that we were not able to pray there, and we davened in the house of Rav Nachman Nosson in the Hamburg. The house of Rav Nachman Nosson, I think, was the house that Rabbi Nachman lived in at one point in Uman, in this big ambar, which is this big hall, this big section of the house. Right. So we davened in this place, which was where we also davened when Rabbi Nachman was alive. So that was the same house. And we also davened there for a few years. Okay, so after Rabbi Nachman died, they had a few places that they davened in, but there was nothing kavua, there was nothing solid for them, right? Now, in the year Tav Kuf Tzadik, which I believe is in the year 1830, right? So he says, Loy hoya efshar oid lehispal sham. We were not, it was not possible for us to pray there anymore because we were too many people. We had a lot of stress in this, and we had to find a place to rent, and Hashem hooked it up that there was this beautiful new apartment, new house that was almost being close to finish, and this person who was building it asked us to pray there. Okay, right, to do like a chinuch of the house, to do how do you say chanuchas habayis, right? So the guy wanted the Breslovers to pray there for a chanuchas habayis of his house, that his house should be good. So we davened there Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so again they had so they had another year where they were able to pray in somebody else's house, right? And Rav Nosson writes that close to this Rosh Hashanah, Hashem sent into my heart a big hisayrus that I should use all my strength to start working on building a whole new Beis Medrash, a whole new shul for us, for the kibbutz Hakadosh in Uman. Right? And Rav Nosson says that there was times where I already thought about this, but I never really, really wanted it. It never really came to anything. Except this year, now I had a very, very big hisayrus, because I saw that we had to keep on switching places every year. So Hashem gave me a lot of chizik that I should start doing this. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of miniyas, that there was going to be a lot of hard work to do this, because of money, and also because of the misnagdim, that they were going to come and bother us because we were building a shul. But we needed to do this, and Hashem was going to help us, so I started to work on this. Right? And he says that everything that happened in regarding to building this Kloyz, to building our own shul in Uman for Uman Rosh Hashanah, obviously I can't tell over the whole entire thing, but Hashem Yisbarach, he says that in the year Tav Kuf Tzadik Beis, in the year of Chodesh Cheshvan, I put the yisoid, I put the foundation down, and I worked on this for 2 years. Basically, from Tav Kuf Tzadik to Tav Kuf, from when he had this idea to start building the shul, until 2 years later, where he put the yisoid down. And he collected money, and he had to buy a place, he had to buy a property, and all these different things, right? Now we're going to learn all about this. It goes into more detail. And it was also in those 2 years there was a lot of stuff, especially in the year Tav Kuf Tzadik Aleph. He says that there was a very, very big sickness that went out in the world called cholera, which I believe is the cholera pandemic. It was new, whatever, I don't know, and it killed a lot of people. And he says that that whole winter of Tav Kuf Tzadik Aleph, the whole entire world was closed off, which is kind of like Corona vibes, we had, But close to Shavuos, there was also the Great Rebellion in Poland, which was when the Kesar, the king, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff going on that made it hard to travel, and obviously like that. This is all, by the way, from Yemei Mornat, from the Sefer that Rav Nosson wrote, his autobiography in English. It is the Through Fire and Water, basically, from the Breslov Research Institute. But he goes into more details, obviously, in the Yemei Mornat, in the Hebrew. Anyway, the point is that Rav Nosson did not let any of this stop him, and he went around for those 2 years, and he collected money, and he did all these things, right? And this is also obviously after many years of Rav Nosson having a lot of problems with his snagdim and all these things. But at the end, Baruch Hashem, they were able to put down a yisod, they were able to put down a certain foundation. Okay. Now, on Rosh Hashanah of Tav Kuf Tzadik Beis, we actually davened in. This is when, because the building still wasn't built, right? This is when they just put down the yisoid. The what's it called? The Breslovers davened in the shul of the Chasidei Nachmu Strifka Shibu Uman. And there's a footnote here on the base in the word Nachmu Strifka. It says that afterwards the name of the Chasidus was changed to Rachmu Strifka. So Rachmu Strifka is a big Chasidus we all have heard of. And Rachmu Strifka, so originally it was called Nachmu Strifka. That's pretty crazy. I don't think a lot of people know that. That originally Rachmu Strifka was called Nachmu Strifka. But anyway, the Breslovers davened there on Rosh Hashanah. And yeah. So that's where they davened in Uman. And they were very friendly with the Breslovers. And they gave us their Beis Medrash. Which is interesting because I heard that Rachman Shivka is not such a big fan of Breslov today, but I don't know about that. Whatever, Hashem is king. So that's what it says over here. Okay. So he says now after that Rosh Hashanah, then obviously we built more of the building. We got the beams and the wood, and this was the thing, and everything was completed. And that's when they were really building the Kloyz. This is the first Kloyz in Uman. The first specific Breslov Kloyz in Uman. So it was built in the year Tav Kuf Tzadik Beit. I believe that's 1832. Okay? Second. Right, now they're going to talk about collecting. Okay. And he says over here, one time I heard a story from my father. I believe this is obviously not Rav Nosson talking. I believe this is Rav Avin Bar Nachman of Tulchin, the son of Rav Nachman of Tulchin, who was a student of Rav Nosson. So he's saying that he heard from his father, Sipor Binyan Beis HaKnesset Sheshabu Uman, right? Like a story about the building of this whole shul, right? אבל מחמא שמשנה לשנה נסבס יציב הרנויס לומן משנה רוח כך בצליף עשר השנה שאין שום מייף נכנס Shemim LaBoiker. They used to daven in a shul called Shemim LaBoiker. That's what he's saying over here, right? Yeah, so they're bringing another little thing over here that, like the Breslovers, they had places to daven, but then they weren't able to daven anymore because there was too many people, so they ended up davening in the house of where Rabbi Nachman davened when he was alive. He's going through this whole thing. And then Rav Nosson went to something, so he's just going through like another section of the history from a different viewpoint, but anyway, like that. So again, then it says over here, right? So he says in 1 year, like they weren't able to. It was very scared. They weren't going to be able to rent a room, whatever, something like that. And then Rav Nosson saw that the kibbutz, may not happen, chas v'shalom. So he went and he decided that he's going to go around and he's going to collect money to start building this shul. Okay, so that is what Rav Navram Bar Nachman is saying of how this all happened. So anyway, so first Rav Nosson went to Ladizin, to the city of Ladizin, there was a few of the Ktsas Anash living there, a few of the Breslovers living there. And he did a lot of Yisayros in front of them, how we need, and how we need to have Uman, and how we need to have this gathering, and everything like that. And it says over here, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Hanal, which was, whatever, I don't know where he was mentioned before, fine. He was living in the city of Ladizin, and he was a very, 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 very very poor person. But when Rav Nosson actually came to that town that day, he actually had 2 rubles with him. Okay, which is not a lot of money, but he had 2 rubles. That was his whole thing. That was mamish his whole money. It wasn't like he had 10 extra shekels in his pocket or a $20 bill in his somewhere hidden. He had 2 rubles, and that was it, right? And when he heard Rav Nosson talking about how great and how big of a thing it is to have our own shul in Uman and everything like that, he went to his house and he grabbed these 2 rubles and he bought them to Rav Nosson. And Rav Nosson did not want to take it. This is a very very famous story, and he wouldn't. And he didn't want to take it from this guy. because he didn't want to take all of his money, right? But this guy, Rabbi Mendel, he begged him. He said, "Take it, please. This is all my worth. I want this to go to the shul and everything like that." And right, so it was that, and that's what happened. And that's what he says. Okay. So he took the money from the guy because he realized that this is going to be a very, very holy thing, and this is how it's supposed to start off, even from a little bit of money. But this is how it's going to start off. Okay. And now he says over here, it says again, he says that after Rabbi Nachman died, right, when Rav Nassim went around at the beginning after Rabbi Nachman died to wake up the Breslovers, to wake up all the different Anash and all the different communities about coming to Uman Rosh Hashanah, because it wasn't like, there was like, I don't know how many Breslovers there were back then, but there wasn't today 50,000. So people were like, okay, Rabbi Nachman died, okay, we'll come to Uman, whatever. But it wasn't like such a big deal, But Rabbi Nassim was the one who Mamish kept it alive, So he was the one who went around those few years and said we have to keep the kibbutz going, we have to do everything like that. So he was traveling around then, and he actually visited another poor person who lived close to Uman. And this poor person said to Rav Nassim, he says, Rabbi Nassim, if you don't build a Kloyz, specifically for the Breslovers in Uman, you didn't do anything. Meaning that is the ikr of what we need right now, is to have our own little shul in Uman. And Rav Nassim understood that this poor person was 100% correct, and he got a lot of his sirus, he got a lot of awakening to build the Kloyz. And he says, okay, fine, you give the first kesef, and he gave all the kesef, which was this two rubles. This is a different version of the story, because he was a very, very poor person, and that's how Rav Nassim started building the Kloyz. And afterwards, when Rav Nassim was in the city of Chirin, and he was by the rich Breslovers, he told them this story. He said that this poor person gave all of his properties, so you guys also give a lot, of money for these things. Right? So that's where we are going to. Let me just see if there's anything else over here. That's where we're going to stop today. That is the first part of building of the Kloyz. Remember, it's not the Kloyz that you see in Uman today. This is Rav Nassim's Kloyz, which unfortunately I think later on turned into a factory. We're going to learn all about that later. Alrighty, have a great Purim.